Okay. Welcome back. I'm Jason. Sorry for the weird cut. I had to do a bunch of random stuff just then. I'm going to be walking through how I make this kind of a newer shape, to me at least. These wavy, sort of loose serving bowl, low profile platter thingies. I don't know exactly how much clay this is. If I had to guess, I'm going to say it's about 10 pounds. Yeah, I'm just going to talk through kind of my train of thought for these. I hope you guys find these valuable. Again, this is Jason, Pig's Eye Pottery. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Don't ever gut your house and expect to be back up and running in 4 months. That's exactly why you haven't seen videos from me in a while. Okay, so first thing, I'm just going to get this all centered. Leverage body weight with this. I'm going to anchor in, and to make sure, hopefully, there aren't any air bubbles happening. I did wedge this clay, but if you've seen previous videos of me talking about my lack of wedging skills, I'm not amazing at it. What I've found is coning tends to get you there as well. It's just working it up to a cone shape and then just leaning body weight into it to get it back to centered. With these forms, I almost start them, there you go, I almost start them off how I would a normal kind of like large serving bowl. I'm going to call these sort of wavy serving platters. Oh, by the way, this clay is a clay with a ton of iron in it. I'm here in western Wisconsin, just across the river from Minnesota. There's a place called Minnesota Clay. They have a clay called Gunflint. It is a little spendy, but it fires like a really nice sort of espresso, almost black color, even in the electric kiln. And I'm hoping to leave some heavy sort of tool marks on this, and then use a glaze that's pretty opaque, and it has some wood ash in it and some Spanish iron oxide, and I think it just looks really awesome with subtle little tool marks. So anyways, I'm going to drop in here. I'm going to leave a fair amount of material at the bottom because I'm going to trim a pretty significant foot so the platter kind of sits off the table quite a bit. Almost like a super exaggerated version, this is hard to see, but of this, where it's just a pretty dramatic cut in. So when I drop the well, I'm going to go not as deep as I typically would go, and then I want to open this up a little bit so I can test the depth with a pin tool. So I'm going to use my sponge and just pull the clay towards me. When I'm doing this, I'm trying to taper my fingers up so I'm not going like totally parallel with the wheel. I'm kind of getting this little concaved surface on the bottom, just like that. Okay, so all I did was kind of pull the clay towards me, and then I'm going to kind of even out some of the weirdness I just made in there, and then I just want to test the depth real quick. If you're just starting out throwing, I highly recommend every time you drop the well and open it up, every time you dive into the clay, always use a pin tool, always test your depth. That will give you a good idea of where you're at, and that's like a good, I don't know what that is, but that's significant, which is kind of what I'm looking for. Yeah, after you do that a few 100,000 times, whatever, you typically don't need to use the pin tool because your sort of muscle memory will figure out how deep you've gone with the clay. So I want to just widen this out quite a bit. And I'm going to do, the next thing I'm going to do here is almost like I do with plates. I'm going to use the blade of my hand, and if you've seen some of my plate videos, I don't drop the well with my thumbs and open it up. I drop the well with the blade of my hand, and I want to sort of spread this clay out a little bit. So I'm going to use the blade of my hand, push down on the clay, and then pull it towards me, and as I'm pulling it towards me, I'm going to ease off the pressure a little bit just to bring that out. We have a significant amount of clay just hanging out in space, which is a little sketchy, but hopefully we as in me will not botch this piece for the video. With functional pots, especially if like food's going in them or liquids or whatever. I like to make the inside surface really easy to clean, and just from a usability standpoint, I think it's important that there's not like a bunch of weird nooks and crannies that you might have to struggle with cleaning after you use them. So I'm going to use this rib tool and just go back and forth and really compress that surface so it's nice and smooth. And then also just obviously the shape of the rib tool will help you kind of maintain that curve on the inside. Okay, next situation. I'm gonna kind of get these walls vertical. So I'm just gonna use this sponge, get a little bit of water on the clay, and then all I'm gonna do is push in from the outside just to get that wall vertical. I'm really not trying to do too many fancy moves with this just yet. And then I'm gonna do one very sort of not so dramatic pull up, just to make sure the walls are even, because I'm about to stretch out the walls a little bit to give it sort of that kind of wavy landscaped rim situation. So if you've seen previous videos of my wavy pots, my landscape pots, where I kind of stretch the clay out a little bit, I was kind of going through and like doing all these like weird little stretches and messing with it. I feel like I might have been stressing the clay out a little bit, meaning like taking some of its elasticity away. So recently what I've been doing is I'm gonna do, these are gonna kind of be squared off a little bit. I'm gonna stretch them to square them off a bit. Instead of doing this whole thing, I'm just gonna start from where I want the sort of wave to be, sort of the boundaries of the wave, pinch with my fingers, and as I move my way to the middle, I'm gonna sort of increase the pressure, increase the squeeze, and get that sort of a situation. So just one fell motion, moving in there, trying not to think about it too much. I found if I overthink these things and pay too much attention to it, they tend to look a little forced. Okay, so these are all kind of funky, wavy at this point. I'm going to use this wooden rib tool, and I'm just going to sort of roll with the waviness, but I want to flatten this rim out a bit and compress it. And this hand, my left hand, is basically just there as a control. And then I'm just pushing down a little bit to thicken that rim out. Just like that. I'm still letting it kind of get wavy. I'm not trying to recenter it or flatten things out. And then the next step is I want to, so all these stretches, if you can see around this outside, I need to take care of that. I need to like sort of do some pulls to even some things out. So I'm just going to use the sponge on the outside, fingers on the inside, and do a pretty significant pull. And then I'm stopping just shy of the rim. I don't want to compress that rim, or I'm sorry, I don't want to actually like, yeah, compress that rim in and make it any thinner. I want that rim to be a little bit thick. I like the transition, if you've seen some of the platters I've made, I like the transition from a thick rim to a thin wall. In my personal humble opinion, I do enjoy pots that look like they're going to be heavy, and then they are surprisingly like lightweight and thin. These are bigger pots, so they're going to have a little bit of weight to them, but if they're full of food and you're trying to schlep it around the kitchen, I'm hoping that they're not like completely unmanageable. I'm gonna do one more pull with the sponge on the outside, just to bring some of that clay up a little bit. And then the next pull I'm gonna do with just my fingers. I like using the sponge to kind of spread out the pressure. So for moving bigger masses of material, I think the sponge is helpful because it'll kind of spread the pressure out. You're not putting like pressure on just like 2 points, like your fingertips. But for this next pull, I'm just going to use my fingers because I get a lot more feedback from the clay just using your digits. And I can basically get a feel for how thin or thick those walls are. I'm really not trying to get height. I want this thing to be kind of shallow. Just like that, okay? Again, coming back through with this wooden rib tool and flattening out that rim. I'm gonna kind of tilt it in a little bit. just like that. I'm not really looking for a big lip on the outside. And then the next thing I'm gonna do, because, okay, so there's a ton of extra material down here. I'm gonna push in a little bit here and start stretching out sort of this lower, like the heel, or like think of it like a jaw. I'm gonna stretch that jaw out and give it like kind of this weird, somewhat unpredictable kind of shape. I like the looseness of these. But first off, I want to compress some of this clay right here, actually right there. And so I'm going to use this rib tool and just compress a little bit of that clay right up to the wall, because it is pretty dramatic to how thick this is and how thin that is. And then I want to, again, the clay I'm using, and this particular like glaze I'm gonna be using on these, I want to leave some really heavy tool marks on the outside. So I'm just going to take this smaller metal rib tool, which I can kind of control a little bit better, and just hit it randomly. Try not to think about it too much. Yeah, just like that. Maybe that looks forced. Let's try it again. Tricky thing is if you do too many of these, you are wearing the clay out, and it will get, it will not want to agree with you. It'll basically want to fall apart on you. Is that a B? It's definitely a B. Cool. The joys of being in the country. All right. So I've got some decent throw lines on here, or some decent tool marks. Might mess with it just a little bit more, which is the golden rule. Quit while you're ahead, but do maybe, okay. Almost botched it. Okay, there we go. As you can see, I should have quit while I was ahead. But let's see if we can't recover this thing. Just randomly moving the tool around, trying not to think about it too much. That's not terrible. I try not to get super attached to one particular piece that I'm making and try and make everything absolutely perfect, because I know I will screw that up. I also like doing some random stuff like this. I've got that little lip hanging off there. I don't like it, so wire tool, cut it off. Who cares? It might turn out cool. It might not. We'll see what happens. All right, from here, I'm going to flatten this rim out one more time, and then I'm going to push in from the bottom and give it kind of that like jaw situation, and hopefully it works out. We'll see what happens, everybody. But so from the outside, I'm going to use this sponge on the first pass. I'm going to push all this material in, and I just want to feel it from the inside. I'm not really doing anything from the inside. I'm just feeling what happens when I push all this material in. And I can kind of feel the floor of this pot coming up a little bit, which is exactly what I want. Just like that. I'm going to trim a bunch away. And then at this point, I'm just going to use my hands, and I'm going to grab that floor and pull it out at kind of like a, let's say 45. I know it's not a 45, it's a little bit more steep than that, but I want to pull that clay out and give it kind of a weird, sort of unpredictable, kind of a heel. Yeah. There we go, there we go. Okay. Yeah. It's weird. The tricky thing is here is I have a significant amount of weight of clay here. I don't want to hang this out in space too much, but I am going to go a little bit further with it. And I think instead of just using my fingertips on the inside, I want to like kind of maintain that nice interior floor that I was talking about. So I'm going to use my fingertips on the outside to push the clay up against the tool from the inside. So I'm pushing that tool down from the inside, and I'm pushing the clay up from the outside to kind of compress them together. I'm also looking, because I can't see anything from inside there right now, but I am looking across the pot on the interior to see where this tool is hitting on the clay. Let me try it one more time. Really not trying to overwork this one. Maybe I got a peek. There we go. Because it's real easy to overwork these pieces. There we go. Okay. Weird. Cool. Maybe I like it. Maybe I don't. I'm undecided. We'll see. Okay. The next move. I think I can get that even thinner. But before I get this thinner, I did kind of lose some of the tool marks from the outside. So I'm going to come back through with that. Add a little bit of water from the inside. I know this is probably just a hot mess of gibberish, but I'm hoping somebody is getting some value out of me talking through kind of what I'm thinking with these. So I want to get a little bit more in the way of some tool marks there. That's a little thick. And I also want to stand this thing up a little bit more. It was kind of collapsing in, so I'm just trying to stand it up and get these walls a little more vertical. And I'm kind of playing with fire here because I have gone over this spot. I don't know if anyone's counting out there, but several times. All right, cool. That isn't looking too crappy. I'm going to come back through one more time on the bottom here and try and pull that out even a little bit more. But first, let's compress that rim gently. And now a little bit of water on the inside, a little bit of water out there, and let's see if I can't pull it out even more with this rip tool. So again, I want this floor of this pot to still be extremely functional. I'm just pushing the clay up from the bottom against the tool that's on the inside. That's sketchy. Okay, there we go. Quit while you're ahead. Be done. Be done. Cool. There's a lot of clay hanging out in space. I want to do one last thing. This rim, I'm going to hit it with actually two things. I'm going to do a little bit of texture on the inside, and then I'm going to hit this rim with the rib tool as well. So a little bit of tool marks on the inside. I like little wavy, sort of spirally situation. And then I'm going to roll this tool over this rim to give it some kind of what I think might be sort of interesting character. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. With this one, I was planning on squaring it off, but it's kind of wonky enough as is, and I kind of dig it. So I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to leave it as is. I squared off a previous one that I made before this. That was kind of circular, and I didn't really like it. I didn't really like how it turned out, but I'm kind of digging how this thing turns out. So hopefully somebody at some point will enjoy using this as like a little kind of side dish main thing. It'll shrink down a bit, but yeah, like a nice kind of serving bowl. Just a weird, funky serving bowl. I have to stop staring at this thing because I'm going to want to do one more thing to it because you can't take my own advice. I think I should just be done. All right, be done. Thank you for listening. If you've made it through this whole video, I appreciate you all sticking with the channel. If you're new, welcome. Thank you for coming. There's ways to support the channel down in the description. There's a ton of videos. Some I talk through and sort of do this like whole, sort of whatever this is, where I'm just kind of gibbering the whole time. Others I just make pots, and you can kind of see how I make pots. I find those valuable when I watch other potters. I like seeing techniques. I like seeing how other people are doing things. That side's boring. I don't think I did anything. All right, leave it. Anyways, support the channel if you would like to. There's ways down in the description. Otherwise, stay tuned. I will be making a bunch more pots and documenting these things very, very, very soon. And then if you're in the area, or even if you're not, go to the website. You can check out events that I'm doing. You can check out the gallery in St. Paul, Minnesota, if you happen to be in the neck of the woods that I'm in. Otherwise, again, thank you for your support. I appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Let me know down in the comments if you'd like to see me make any forms that I've made in the past. Otherwise, yeah, look forward to having you check in next time. Thanks again. All right, everybody, quick edit. I knew I couldn't help myself. Here's that piece I just threw. I squared it off. I couldn't help it. So all I did, and you kind of see it from the inside beyond, again, I live in farmlands. There's flies everywhere. It's really lovely. But you can see right there, I just kind of used my digits to push in and stretch up. I didn't touch the rim, but it gives it, I think, kind of a nice squared off shape. Again, can't help myself. I might have some OCD going on there. Anyways, thank you for joining. Appreciate you all. These ones are drying and trimmed, so you can kind of get a sense for the feet on them. And these ones will get trimmed after I'm done unloading a wood kiln, which, by the way, I think I'm going to do a video on, so stay tuned. But anyways, thank you again for all your support, and yeah, until next time, we'll check you later.